איזה מדרש בפרשת לך לך אומר לי הקדוש ברוך הוא said to Avraham Avinu, ניסיון הראשון, the first ניסיון, the first test. We know that Avraham Avinu had 10 main tests, ניסיונות, to overcome. As we say in Pirkei Avos, עשור ניסיונות ניסנס אברהם אבינו, ועומד בכולם, and he overcame all the 10. להודיע, to let us know, חיבוסי של אברהם אבינו, the reason why הקדוש ברוך הוא loved Avraham Avinu so much. So the Midrash says in Parshas Lech Lecho, Omar le HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Avraham Avinu, Nisoyon Orishon, the first Nisoyon, V'Nisoyon Acharoin, and the last Nisoyon, Belech Lecho. I am telling you the same wording. Lech Lecho mi'artzecho, that's the first one. And the last one, Lech Lecho el Eretz HaMorio, for the Akedah. This Midrash holds that the first Nisoyon, the first of the 10, starts with the Nisoyon of Lech Lecho. It's a machlokes. It's a machlokes in Chazal. Because another Midrash says that the first Nisoyon starts at the time when Avraham Avinu had to hide because of Nimrod, even before the Kivshon Ha'esh. And Lech Lecho is already the third Nisoyon, according to the other Midrash. But this Midrash is in Yalkut Shimoni. In the beginning, he holds that the first Nisoyon is a Nisoyon of Lech Lecho. So that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Avraham Avinu, the first Nisoyon and the last Nisoyon, and I am testing you with the same command, with the command of Lech Lecho. Go away. For your own good. Lech Lecho. So the question is, of course, we don't understand what Chazal want to point to us. So what if the Nisoyon is with the wording of Lech Lecho, or the Nisoyon is in the wording of Vayomer Hashem el Avrom? For example, in the later Nisoyon of Garesh, Kol asher tuimar lecho Soro shema b'krilo, you should listen to what Sora tells you, and you should repudiate, you should chase away Hagar and Yishmael. He didn't say Lech Lecho, and you can't say Lech Lecho, because he stays at the place. It's her which she's going to go away from him. It's Hagar. But nevertheless, we have to understand, for example, when he tells him Vayered Avrom Mitzrayim, he doesn't tell him Lech Lecho leMitzrayim. That was also one of the Asor Nisyonos. So at any rate, we have to understand what lies in that. The word Lech Lecho. What is so wonderful about the word Lech Lecho? And also, why just the first Nisoyon and the last Nisoyon? What is so important about the first Nisoyon being the first and the last Nisoyon being the last? Those are the two things we have to understand in the Midrash. Now there's another question we have to ask on the Parsha of Lech Lecho. There is a Midrash, HaKadosh Baruch Hu spoke to Avraham Avinu in Ur Kasdim, in Choron, more precisely. And he told him, you, Avraham Avinu, you are medakdik b'mitzvos. You are very careful about the mitzvahs. As we know, Avraham Avinu already kept even the mitzvahs, the Rabbonon, like Eruv Tavshilin. Therefore, that's why I call you Avraham Ohavi. Avraham, my friend. Because you are medakdik b'mitzvahs. Therefore, I'm telling you, what are you doing here amongst the Oivdei Avodah Zorah? What are you doing here in Choron? Amongst people who do idol worship. Avodah Zorah, get out from here. That's not your place. In other words, you might be influenced by them. And where does HaKadosh Baruch Hu send him? In Eretz Canaan. Who is living there in Eretz Canaan? Which are the Umas, which are the nations who live at the time in Eretz Canaan? Ve'aknani oz yoshev bo'oretz. Torah tells us. The Canaani. Who is Canaan? Canaan is a cursed nation. Orur Canaan. When Eliezer, who comes from Canaan, wants Avraham Avinu to take his daughter as a kale for Yitzchak, Avraham Avinu answers him back, you are cursed and I am blessed. Ato orur v'ani boruch, ve'in orur mizdabek beboruch. So he sends Eliezer later on. We'll see. He sends Eliezer back to Aram Naharaim, to the place of his birth, and he tells him, Lo yisikach isho mi benois haknaani asher ani yoshev b'kirboi. Do not take a wife from the daughters of the Canaanim where I live amongst whom I am living, I'm dwelling. Ki im el arzi ve'el moladeti teilech. Only at my birthplace you shall go. The land where I've been born. I'm born. So we know that. So we see openly that the people of Canaan were much worse than the people of Aram Naharaim and Aram Nochar, the place from where Avraham Avinu comes. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells him, Ma to'ise b'no evdei koichovim. What are you doing amongst the evdei koichovim, the idol worshippers? It's not your place. You might become kalye. You might become spoiled here, damaged by their influence. Get out from here and go where? Go to Eretz Canaan. From Karib into Silla. You go from a better place to a worse place. Who lives there? Whom is he going to be next to his neighbors? Sdoim v'Amoire. Sdoim v'Amoire. Those are the people whom HaKadosh Baruch Hu chooses as the new neighbors of Avraham Avinu. The jewel of Canaan. The jewels. The best specimen of Canaan. Sdoim v'Amoire. B'inu Sheloilo. So what does it mean? It's a very strong question. So some Talmud told me something interesting when I asked them the question. A young boy told me, it's better to live amongst schlechte goyim than to live amongst gentlemanish goyim. Why? Because, for example, here we live in the worst district of Greater Manchester. So we could complain about it, isn't it? Where have we fallen here? In a nest of serpents. Should get out of here. But really, there's a good point in it. What is it? For our children. And for us also. Because if we would live in South Manchester, where there are maybe better educated goyim, our children might look up at the goyim. Yeah? Look up at them. They learn, they're educated, they're mentioned, and they might be influenced. But when you see those goyim here, I tell them in Paris, I tell my students, there are barbarians here. And you know why? Because they've been conquered by the Romans much later than France. So therefore, Tami told me, we know, for example, Nebuch, the Yidden from Morocco and Algeria, when they came to France, a lot of them got assimilated. Why? Because when they were in Algeria, who were there, the going there? Arabs. No one wanted to marry an Arab. Those who have been living there, schrecklich. Who wants to marry an Arab? When they came to France, they see, oh, Goyim, they're also mentioned, and they are attracted to the Goyim. So the best Goyim is those who are the worst. For us, the best Goyim are those who are the worst. Our children, they know Shkotzim, that's what they call them. Because they realize how bad they are. So, for example, to go in Eretz Yisrael, we know that the danger there is for the from children in Eretz Yisrael. Why? Because they are amongst Yidden. And some Yidden are less from than others, but they're still Yidden. They've got the milas of Yidden, and therefore the influence is greater, the danger is greater for children, from children in Eretz Yisrael than in Chutz La'aretz. Why? Because the sof kol sof between Goyim and Yidden, it's a big a big difference. More than between a Yid who is from and a Yid who is non-from. So this answer is a very clever answer. We have to think about it. We have to retain it. But there would be a kushi on that, a kash. Because the Rambam says in Hilches Deis, a man who lives amongst schlechte Menschen, he has to get out of that place, and if he has nowhere else better to live, he has to live even in the midbar. The Rambam. Paskin de Aloche, a person, beteva, in his nature, is forcibly influenced by the people he is a neighbor with. No one can escape the influence of those people. If it's only the language, the way people talk, we also get influenced. The best of the best. We cannot escape the influence of the grobkeit, of the vulgarity of the goy. And the Rambam says a person should not stay amongst bad people. Why doesn't the Rambam say, on the contrary, it's better to be amongst bad people than to be amongst better people, because, like as we said just now, the Rambam doesn't hold on that. It seems, at any rate. We might say it's a consolation, but but it's not a lechatchile. And here by Avram Avinu, it's lechatchile. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells him, go, lech lecho, for your own good. There you'll have children, there you'll be gebenched, there you will reach your tachlis. Where? In Eretz Canaan. So you'll say what? Kedushas ha'aretz. Take, Kedushas ha'aretz. Eretz Canaan is a Eretz HaKodesh. It's a heilige land. On one side there are people who are terrible, who live there, the Canaani. But on the other hand there is the Kedushas ha'aretz. Sof kol sof. So you might say that it's preferable to live in Eretz Yisrael because of Kedushas ha'aretz, although people are so bad, than to live in Ur Kasdim or in Choron, although people are better, but the land is a too medical land. But that is also a point. I will not, this answer, I will not, we can also think about it. But what I wanted to say tonight is a different point. And it's not refuting all the other points. We can make a concoction, association of all the 3 points together. But there is a very important point which we have overlooked. And this is the following point. There is a medrash, and with that we are going to understand also the Lech Lecho. There is a midrash which we read in Pashas Noach. It says about the Dor HaFloge, Vayeshvu vayimtzu biko be'eretz Shinor. They found a valley in the land of Shinor, that is the land of Bovel, Vayeshvu shomo, and they settled there. Whom are we talking about? We're talking about the descendants of Noach after they came out of the Teva. No. And they came down there, Vayeshvu shomo, they settled, and then they said, let us build a tower. You know the story. So Chazal say like this. We have noticed that wherever in the Tanakh it is written a Loshen Yeshiva, of being settled in a place, Asotom Mekatreg. The Sotom comes and accuses and entices, and he makes that person do an Averet if he is not strong. Kol mokem sheyesh nachas ruach. Everywhere there is a pleasure, a satisfaction, a gashmizik satisfaction, a soton mekatreg. There is the soton who mixes inside and he tries to entice us to the naver. Kol mokem sheyesh achilo shesio. And every place where there is food and drink, plenty to drink and eat, a soton mekatreg. The soton accuses. And Rav Dessler explains, accuses means entices, and he tempts us to do an avera, and therefore he accuses, of course, afterwards. So let us just take this word, yeshiva, vayeshvu, where there is a settling, when a person feels he's hamish, he's at home, he likes the place, he's well established, then it's dangerous. For example, Bashitim, Vayeshev Om Bashitim, again Chazal say there, Vayeshev Om Bashitim, they settled there, they stayed a bit longer in the Midbar, and they did the Benois Moav. They did Avodah Zarah with the Benois Moav. Vayeshev Om Bashitim. So, we might say the following. Avraham Avinu in Ur Kasdim, that was his land, that was his birthplace. He knew the language, he had connection, he had a big family. It was a well-established family in the place. He felt himself a citizen of the place. You know, in Germany, the Tzores started when the Yidden felt there were more Germans than Jews. That is the sakona. That is the danger when people find it nice, find it comfortable in the place. So Avraham Avinu, in Achaname, the people there were better, let's say, than in Eretz Canaan. But the point is, he will get more influence in a place where he's settled and he feels one of them. That is more dangerous than if he goes in Eretz Canaan, and in Eretz Canaan he is amongst very bad people, but there is a foreigner. There is a geir. He's a geir. Geir, v'toishov onoichi imochem, he says to the Bnei Ches later on. He's not, he feels he doesn't belong with them. He's not the same people. He's a foreigner. He's a traveler. He's only passing by. And therefore he keeps apart. And we see from Avraham Avinu, he had his tent, he had his camels, his flocks, and he was going from one place to another. He was not living in the towns with them together. Everybody knew Avraham Avinu, he was like living like a Bedouin, like a nomad. He was all the time in Bedidus. He was alone with his family. He didn't hire a house in the towns. So the fact that he was a traveler, the fact that he was a nomad, the fact that he was a foreigner, that was the best protection against the influence of the bad people who were living in Eretz Canaan. And we see the difference between Lot and Avram. Avram lived not far away from Sodom. It might have been 50 kilometers, maybe, I don't know. Not far away from Sodom, he lived Avram Avinu. But he was not living in the town of Sodom. Masha in Ken is not the same for Lot. Lot, he went there and lived, and he became one of them. He became a shofet. He became a judge. He became a very important personage in Sodom. Lot. Now this point, this concept of feeling a person ought to feel is a traveler. The Chovos HaLevavos calls it, in the Cheshbon HaNefesh, he calls that concept Gerus HaNefesh Ba'olam Hazeh. The fact that we are all passing by in this world. As it says in the Pasuk, Ki geirim v'toishovim atem imodi. Rabbeinu Shalom says to us, even in Eretz Yisrael, you are only travelers. We are all travelers here. That is the idea, the concept that can protect us against the nisyonos, against the tests of our life, which are in our lives. To anchor in our mind this concept that we are not citizens in this world. We are not toishavim in this world. We are geirim. David HaMelech says in capital Kufyut Tes, Geiro noichi ba'oretz. And he was a king. He had a beautiful palace. He was the head of the Klal Yisrael, in Eretz Yisrael, and he says, Geiro noichi ba'oretz. I'm a traveler in the land. Al taster mimeni mitzvoisecho. Do not hide from me your mitzvahs. In other words, if a person wants to learn Torah, to know the mitzvahs, and to be mekayim the mitzvahs, and to come nearer to the Rabbeinu Shalom, he has first to realize Ki geir onoichi ba'oretz. Be'emes, it's written in Pirkei Avos openly. Rabbi Yaakov, everybody knows, Oelam hazeh doimeh leprosdor bifnei oelam habo. This world is only a passageway. We are traveling. The Bechinos Olam was one of the Kadmoinim, the Rishonim, writes, you know this, what we sing, Olam hazeh gesher tzar me'od, yes? Really, this sentence is written in Bechinos Olam. It's the words of a Rishon. And he says, this world is like a bridge. Very narrow bridge, and a bridge which has no, how do you say, a marker, which has no mechitzos, which has no walls on the sides. And a person who goes on it has to be very careful not to fall down. Oilom hazeh gesher tzar me'od. Ve'ofsu ha'mizgores. Mizgores is the mechitzos. There is none. And people come from one end. It's a one-way bridge. It's not like those bridges where you have got people coming this end to that end, and from that end to the other end. No, all the people of the world come from one end of the bridge, and they go until they reach the other end. That's what the Bechinos Olam pictures life of man in this world. It's a one-way bridge. We are all going slowly, day and night, towards our destination. Inexorably, no one can go back, whether we want or not. We are travelers, as he said, Rabbeinu Yoine, B'chol Anshe Levov, all the people of heart, they realize, Yachshevu, they appreciate, and they view Oilom Hazeh, this world, Kemoi Diras Arai, like a provisory dwelling. We are all living here in a tent, very provisory, very temporary. Anshe Levov, the tzaddikim, they live constantly with this idea in mind that we are not here forever. And therefore, they use their life solely for the sole purpose of using it for Avodas Hashem and for nothing else. Now we are in Chodesh Mar Cheshvan. We said the Yerotzen in the Machzor after Sukkot that all the mitzvahs of Yeshiva Sukkah and Netilas Lulav, which we made during the Chag HaSukkos, are going to come in our house and accompany us during the whole year. Rav Osher Shlita asked me a question. We know that all the korbanos of Chag HaSukkos, they are for the Umas Oilom. Porei Echog. The bulls which were brought as korbanos during the Chag HaSukkos, they were for the Umas Oilom because there is a Shivim. Altogether there is a count of 70 for the 70 nations of the world. Shmini Atzeres is only one bull. Why? The Midrash says because all the Yom Tov of Sukkot was for the. It was like a king. The Midrash is like a king who has invited all these noble men to a big meal, to a big Suda. And afterwards, he had his very, very beloved friend. He said, for you, I'm making a special Suda at the end. When everybody has gone away, you are going to eat with me en tête-à-tête. You and me only. A small Suda. So says HaKadosh Baruch Hu to the Yidden. He says, all the 7 days of Chag HaSukkos, you have brought korbanos for the Umas Oilom. But now, Shmini Atzeres, that is something en tête-à-tête, you and me. Only you and me are going to be together. So Shmini Atzeres is a wonderful Yom Tov. That means HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to be together with us, only with us, with nobody else. Yeah? So he asked the question, so why don't we do Shmini Atzeres in the Sukkah? Why does the Torah say, 7 days you sit in the Sukkah with the Ushpizin, Anone Kovet, Tzilo de Me'em Nuse, under the shadow of the Emunah of Hashem, the Anone Kovet, the clouds of glory. And when it comes for the Suda, the wonderful Suda, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to make with us, en tête-à-tête, to show us His love. We have to go out of the Sukkah for Shemini Atzeres. It goes against the whole thing. That's what he asked me. And he answered, maybe the reason is so that all the benefits we got from the Sukkah, we have to, that means the feelings we got from the Sukkah, we should bring them in the house. We should carry it in the house and make a Yom Tov in the house while feeling the same emotion as if sitting in the Sukkah. So I told him, yes, that's what the Yerotzen means. In the Yerotzen we make a prayer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Rabbeinu Shalom Yerotzen, please, that our feelings are malachim, which we made when we are sitting in the Sukkah. That means those wonderful feelings of Dira Sarai. The Sukkah means Dira Sarai. Dira Sarai, that means a temporary dwelling. This wonderful feeling, we have to bring it inside in the house. And it should accompany us during the whole year to realize that we are here just passing by. I always tell the story of a workman whom we called when we were living in France to repair our washing machine. So he pushed down the washing machine and he put his head underneath to look what was wrong with it. Maybe it had been a fire or something. So I don't know why I asked him the question. I don't know. Mina Shomayim. I asked him the question, do you like your job? So he told me, any rate, we're only passing by. That means, what are you asking me? So I compared this answer and the question of mine to someone who was sitting in the underground. Two friends, one in front of the other. And one asked the other in front, how can you sit on this seat here on the underground? This seat is blue. You like the red color. How can you bear it? He said, a gelechter. It's a joke. You're joking or what? In 3 stations, I'm getting out. I'm very happy to find a place where to sit. What does it matter if it's my style, if it's a red color, a blue color? That was the question and the answer. What are you asking me such a stupid question if I like my job? I'm just passing, we're all passing by, he said. A guy who has told me such a thing. Must have been a learned guy. Up to now, I don't know what he meant really. We are all passing by. But how right it is. We make such a fuss about our life in Olam Hazeh, about our tzures, about our happiness, about wherever we have got this kind of house, or that kind of house, or this kind of... What it's like? It's like someone who is arguing about a seat in the underground. Is it your style? Do you like it? So you left. How long do we stay here? We're all passing by. That is the concept of Geirus HaNefesh B'Olam Hazeh. And that's one of the points. But the greater point in Geirus HaNefesh B'Olam Hazeh is to realize that we are alone with the Rebbeinu Shel Olam. No one else can we expect to be any help for us. That is the big concept of Geirus HaNefesh B'Olam Hazeh. Like a foreigner, like someone, a traveler. He knows nobody. He has no friends. He has nobody to whom to look for. As David HaMelech says, Habet yomin ure'eh ve'in li makir. Rebbeinu Shel Olam, look at me, no one knows me. What does it mean? David HaMelech, no one knows him. He was the king. He had around him, he had generals, a court, he had a family. Ki ovi ve'imi azovuni. My father and my mother have forsaken me, says David HaMelech. V'Hashem yasfeini, and the Rebbeinu Shel Olam has gathered me under his wings. We all feel sometime or other that we are alone. And that is true. That is a right concept. We are alone. But we are not alone. We are alone amongst people, but we are with the Rebbeinu Shel Olam. And so Choves HaLevavos ends up and says, this concept will bring you al kein isyached ochi ba'avodosoi. Please, my brother, worship the Rebbeinu Shel Olam only him. Keshem she'isyached ba'hanogasecho, the same as he alone provides to you, no one else. This concept of solitude, this concept of being alone with the Rebbeinu Shel Olam, he is my sole master, he is my sole helper, he is the only one who cares really about me and who can do something about caring about me, because maybe a lot of people can care about me, but they have nothing, they cannot help me. But the Rebbeinu Shel Olam is the one who loves me best, and he is the one who helps me. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you realize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the only help to you, then you also reciprocally, you should only love him. Have faith only in him, and trust only him, and work only for him, for no one else, just for him. That's how the Choves HaLevavos says in Cheshbon HaNefesh, the Cheshbon Shloshim, the last one, 30th. There is a question which I asked at the time of Sukkot, since we are speaking about this idea of Diras Harai. Why is it in Mitzvahs Tzitzis, the Torah says, Ureise moisoi uzechartem es kol mitzvahs Hashem. You shall look at the tzitzis and you shall remember all the mitzvahs of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You look at the tzitzis, you should remember the mitzvahs Hashem. For tefillin, also it says, Leman tiyeh Torahs Hashem beficho, so that you should speak the Torah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in your mouth. Why about the sukkah it says, Ba'asukkah is teshu shivas yomim, Leman yedu doiroseichem, so that your future generations should know, Ki ba'asukkah is oshavti es b'nei Yisrael. Why doesn't it say, Basukos teishvu shivas yomim, leman teidu, so that you should know, you are sitting in the sukkah, you should remember that I let the Yidden sit in the sukkahs in the midbar. Leman teidu ki basukah is oshabtis ben Israel. Why does it say you should sit in the sukkah so that your future generations should know? Why not us? We have to remember, not just our children. That was the question I asked in the time of the Chag HaSukkos. But the main thing is the answer. Now hear that. Because this mitzvah was given in the midbar. In the midbar, they were already, they don't have to remember. That's not the main purpose for them. The main purpose of Sukkot is when they are going to go into Eretz Yisrael, they are going to build the houses, and they are going to be settled, and they are going to have houses full of harvest, of fruits, of cereals, of oil, all kinds of good things. So says the Rashbam on the spot, on the place. He says they might forget who gave them all these good things. They might think, I, with my work of my hand, I have become wealthy. So the Torah says, in the time of the harvest, in the Chag HaOsif, get out from your house. Forget, leave all your harvest and all your wealth, go into a little sukkah there, and remember that your ancestors have lived for 40 years in the midbar, from day to day, without knowing what's going to happen in the next day. What are they going to eat? Every day there was new man falling. So those people who were sitting in the midbar, to whom the Torah speaks, Ba'asukos teishvu, you are in the midbar, I'm commanding to you to sit in the sukkahs. Why? Leman yeidu dorosechem. That is mainly for your future generations, because you don't have that nisoyan. You are in the midbar already. But your children who are going to go in Eretz Yisrael, they are going to have a nisoyan. They are going to have that danger. They might forget that Aboyne Shel Olam gives mom. Don't think because you are in Eretz Yisrael, you are working, you are harvesting. That is your strength, which has given you the harvest. Therefore, let's go back now to the first midrash. Lech Lecho. Lech Lecho, the first nisayon was Lech Lecho, because the Torah wants to emphasize what was the point in the first nisayon. That Avraham Avinu should tear himself away from this concept of being a citizen in a Goyish land. And bichlal, to be a citizen. Lech lecho me'artzecho, u'mimoladetecho, u'mibeisovicho. Break away from all these things which connect you and make you well established in that place. Become a loner. Become a traveler. Become a foreigner. And as we said before, and then you will work for the Rebbeinu Shel Olam only, for no one else. That was the first nisayon. That was the hardest, because the first step is the hardest. Once already one makes a decision, he knows what is asked of him. He knows what kind of attitude he has to take in life. And the right attitude is to break away from that concept of thinking that we are here to stay in this world. Lech lecho. Become a hoylech. Become a traveler. And then afterwards, you don't have to repeat it again. But the last nisayon, which is the last, which is the culminating point of all the others, again, lech lecho. Because that's the way a person comes into this life and goes out from this life. He comes into this life, he becomes a hoylech. As soon as he comes, a child is being born, as soon as he is born, he becomes a hoylech. He becomes older and older and older. And the last hoylech is when he goes out from this world. The last nisayon is also lech lecho. So, to show us that is not something unhappy or something tragic. That is the purpose of man, that is his perfection, to be a hoylech. Hoylech, not like the Malachim who are oimdim. The Malachim are oimdim. They cannot go. They've got their feet together. They cannot move. They are sent by the Rebbeinu Shalom. Where they have to go, they fly. But they don't go. Us, we are going. That is our value, that is our mile.